Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Friday, June 21st, around 9:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2024. The Gulf Stream could collapse as early as 2025. Holy macaroni. Also, astronauts are now stranded in space thanks to Boeing Starliner. Holy macaroni. Keep calm. It's boom time. Heat waves scorching the eastern states with little relief from the sweltering temps. Some people call it summer. 90 million Americans were under heat advisories as summer takes hold and it gets hot outside. Take a look. Rain and hail batter neighborhoods through Utah as well as Colorado. I know because we got hammered yesterday. The 2-day graphical tropical weather outlook showing two disturbances. Disturbance number one is now moving onshore with little chance of developing into a tropical depression. That's good news there. Disturbance two, a 50% chance. Conditions appear conducive for gradual development of this system as it moves slowly west, northwest, or northwestward. Here's the full forecast. Heavy rain with flooding possible in the southwest U.S. and upper Midwest. Heat continues in the east. Widespread showers and thunderstorms in the Four Corners region and northern plains into the upper Midwest today may bring heavy to excessive rainfall with the potential for scattered instances of flash and urban flooding. Dangerous heat will continue to impact the Midwest and Ohio Valley today and peak in the Mid-Atlantic I-95 urban corridor this weekend. So heed the warnings. Heat warnings are out and flash flood warnings are out for the northern plains there, as well as wind warnings and just a whole bunch of stuff going on as we enter summer. Not really a bummer. Quick look at the GFS model. Move it through. We'll show you some severe weather moving through tonight up through Iowa there, Nebraska, Iowa. Looks like Wisconsin and into Michigan by morning and by tomorrow. And so that is the tropical update. The system that could be developing down here, number two, will be moving onshore into Mexico at the end of the weekend, bringing more flooding to regions already saturated from the last tropical storm, Alberto. Seismic update. No real quakes of note, moderate activity worldwide. Biggest quake showing up of any interest is the 5.0 in the tip of the Aleutians there, Adak in Alaska. That is the furthest you can get into Russian territory and still be in America. How do you like them apples? The U.S. showing no significant quakes, 3.1 in New Mexico and a 3.0 in Goldfield, Nevada. Worldwide volcano news. Ibu puffing to 6,000 feet today. Reventador, possible puff. Dukono to 8. Semaru, 15,000 foot puff. Karaminsk, back on the list and performing spectacularly today. 18,000 foot puff earlier. Sabancaya puffing. Liwatobi to 10,000. Nevado de Ruiz, 19,000 foot puff. Fuego to 15. Ibu to 6. Semaru, who knew? Now you do a 15,000 foot puff earlier today. Take a look at the elevated explosive activity from Liwatobi. Liwatobi Laki-Laki volcano in Flores, Indonesia. Major explosions formed towering pillars of ash today. Hey. Dukono to 8. Based on visual and instrumental monitoring results showing a decrease in the activity of the volcano, the alert level has been lowered from 4 to 3 at Ibu. Good news for Halmahera, Indonesia. Ibu has been reduced to level 3. Home Reef volcano continues to grow in Tonga. New lava delta expands the island's size as lava flow and eruption continues. Karaminsk, 12,000 foot puff after the 18,000 foot puff. Etna, minor activity at the Voragine crater going on. Looks like a little dot there. Sabancaya puffing as well. Ibu to 6,000. Etna, weak eruptive from the Voragine. We just showed you that. And the final report of the day is Liwatobi, puffing to 8,000. Quick look at space weather for June 22nd. HMI intensity showing the latest here. Most of the sunspots are turning away from Earth and are no longer geo-effective. The only hope is the incoming regions, which appear to be growing, but not very active. A little bump up in the last 3 hours up into the upper sea range means that, well, take a look. The incoming regions are quite active. Look at the glow there. And so we could be in for some fireworks over the next 2 weeks. 3-day geomagnetic forecast, all quiet on the Western Front. By June 24th, you should all be psychic. Good news, the summer solstice yesterday, the earliest in hundreds of years, will feature a strawberry moon tonight. See how and when to see it in Texas, the nexus of the schmexus, or anywhere. You know how you do it? What you do is you stand up and you walk out of the building through the door into the wilderness and you look up at the moon. Pretty spectacular. June's full moon will grace the skies tonight. Unfortunately, people like us won't be able to see it. It's going to be quite cloudy tonight and has been raining. We've had almost 2 inches of rain over the last 30 hours, and more is coming in the overnight hours. Why is it called the strawberry moon? Well, I'm glad you asked. According to the almanac, the name Strawberry Moon was given its name by the Native American Algonquin tribes who lived in northwestern U.S. Also, the Ojibwe, Dakota, and Lakota tribes also used the name to mark the full moon during this month. And it was because of the harvesting of wild strawberries in June that the June full moon is the strawberry moon. Other names for June's full moon from Native American tribes are the birth moon, the hot moon, because it's hot outside, and the blooming moon. Now, Native Americans didn't know about man-made global warming garbage, so why would they call the June moon the hot moon if they weren't even burning fossil fuels? Really interesting. They also called it the green corn moon because your corn needs to be knee-high by the 4th of July, so it better be green in June. And that's a full moon, strawberry moon, boom. The asteroid that will get closer to Earth than any in human history is the most talked about, Apophis. I'm sure many of you have heard of Apophis, but in a reference to the Chicxulub crater caused by a 7-mile wide asteroid that may have killed the dinosaurs, well, that was removed from the article. I wonder why. Friday the 13th may be considered an unlucky day, but at 5:45 EDT on Friday, April 13th, 2029, it will prove the exact opposite when a massive asteroid passes safely past Earth. So close that many people on half of the Earth will be able to see it with their naked eye. Everyone will be watching. Asteroid Apophis is 1,230 feet across, larger than 90% of most near-Earth objects that we're monitoring, and it will pass just 19,635 miles from Earth's surface. The closest any rock of this size that has ever been witnessed will fly by. That is just 1/3 the distance to the moon, which means it will fly in between the moon and Earth if the moon is in the right position. Additionally, it's going to be flying closer to Earth than satellites in low Earth orbit. They'll be above it. So it's going to come between the satellites and the surface on Friday the 13th, 2029. What could go wrong? It's anybody's guess. Apophis will be visible to the naked eye, as I said, as it crosses the Atlantic for a few billion people in Europe, Africa, and Asia. They will be able to see it for a few hours in the night sky if it's clear outside. Discovered just 20 years ago, this week, the demon of chaos is coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. Will it hit satellites? Will it cause a cascading effect and destroy infrastructure on Earth? It's anyone's guess. But I believe that the empire we know it will not exist in 2029. So that's going to collapse way before that, and we will be back in the Stone Age, and no one will have the internet or know how to monitor Apophis at all. And maybe when it flies by, it will be the next beginning of the next religion. Now let's talk about Boeing and its failures. As the CEO, who made $39 million this year, almost double what he made last year, has no idea what's going on with the company. He says it's all very transparent, but why are there so many whistleblowers that seem to commit suicide after they blow the whistle? It's because of the problems at Boeing, which are clearly have been woven quite deep into this multinational corporation. Boeing gone. Astronauts stranded in space due to multiple issues with Boeing Starliner, including a half a dozen helium leaks, and God knows what else they're not telling us. The window for a return flight is closing, so astronauts are now stranded on the space station. NASA and Boeing engineers are troubleshooting various faults in the Starliner spacecraft, which was delayed almost a decade and amazingly didn't kill the astronauts inside as it launched its shabby product into space. I can't even believe the door didn't blow off, or perhaps an engine failed. But it did have a half a dozen leaks, and now other problems they may be hiding. The window for the return of these astronauts in this device is closing. And if I was one of those astronauts, I don't think I would want to get back into this baby and try to make it back to Earth. That's just how sketchy Boeing has become. Unusual mystery on Mars leaves scientists baffled, as usual. As you can see here, this white rock sitting amongst black rocks, and apparently they don't have many planetary geologists around to explain what's going on here. The black rocks are clearly basaltic or ferrous magmas from lava eruptions with low silica, and the white rock, well, it looks exactly like a highly siliceous granite we have here on Earth called dacite. A dacitic lava is one that consists mostly of silica and typically looks white with small black hornblende phenocrysts, just like this sample. And it took me about 3 minutes to figure out what was going on here looking at this picture alone. So I think that the sciences are dead because there's no good scientists. You see, I was a field scientist where I actually went into the field for decades, year after year, picked up the rocks, looked at them, smelled them, touched them, taste them, sample them, and I saw rocks from all around the world. I could tell you pretty much, if you hand me a rock, where it came from within a few tens of miles. And people think that's spectacular. How is that possible? Well, all you have to do is be a specialist in a field like geology, like I am, and be multidisciplinary. I'm a mineralogist, a petrologist. I know thermodynamics, stratigraphy, paleontology, and on, volcanology. And all together, you get a very clear picture of what's going on the Earth. Now, what they've done in modern times is compartmentalize science so that everyone has a narrow window and nothing can be solved, so that you can be controlled by the political process, and they can get you to write any paper that they want you to, because follow the money. You only get money when your paper is, or your idea is funded in academia. So how do you like them apples? Another problem with an airline, Southwest flight heading for Oklahoma City dives to just 500 feet above a neighborhood. This is right after, a few days ago, we reported on another plane dropping to 400 feet from the top of the ocean. This low altitude pass rattled residents of Yukon, Oklahoma. What's going on? Take a look. Do we have the flight path here? Shit. No, I have it up on the Twitter feed. So go follow us over at Oppenheimer Ranch at Diamond the Dave. Well, my goodness, I just can't find it. I had the flight path earlier today where you could see it dipping down into this residential neighborhood to about 500 feet above the ground. It, in fact, woke some people up, and they were scared. And so what we have to be considering is, how safe is it to fly these days? And with the magnetic excursion ongoing, at some point, radiation levels are going to be too high during certain solar storms to even consider flying, especially if you're up in high latitudes. I wonder if they will actually share this with the public and actually ground these planes. because they clearly aren't investigating Boeing to the extent it needs to be. Now, with Starliner stuck up at the International Space Station with multiple leaks, the window closing there, doors blowing off, and this, that, and the third, and now a Southwest flight tanking down to 500 feet above the ground, and everything is okay? Nothing to see here, folks. Well, you don't want to know where there is something to see over at Oppenheimer Ranch Project at Diamond the Dave on X. Come, join us there and get all the breaking news all day. Take a look at the hail on Lake Powell earlier today. Hey. Thank God you got a canopy on your party boat, or that would be a headache. Oh.
We should be down. Huh? It's coming this way.
Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah, just a short-lived hail event everyone's talking about. Must have been a fun day on the lake. The Gulf Stream could collapse as early as 2025, according to a study that came out 2 years ago. We reported on it when it came out. Leah and I are going to break it all down tomorrow on the radio show, replayed tomorrow night on Magnetic Reversal News at 8 p.m. Warning of a forthcoming collapse of the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation was the paper. Actually, it was just a year ago, July of 2023. The reason we're going to bring this back up is 2 new papers coming out in the last 2 months. We've got this, probability estimates of a 21st century AMOC collapse, and machine learning prediction of tipping and collapse of the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation. Both of these papers suggesting that this may occur in less than a decade. Well, and the initial paper saying it could happen next year. This doesn't mean a year without the day after tomorrow where all of Europe freezes in 13 seconds. That's complete fantasy. Some people are purporting that. It's based on no scientific data whatsoever. So we'll break it all down for you and let the fearmongers suck it. And that's a boom to knowledge. Please share this video as we are shadow banned. We need your help to grow. Subscribe to the channel. That's the best way you can help and get others to subscribe. We haven't had the type of subscribers we had in 5 years since we've been completely shut off from the beast. We love each and every one of you. Be safe, and that is a boom. We'll see you all July 4th in Crestone for Independence Day.